Hi, and thanks for coming back to my YouTube channel. Today's card that I'm going to show you is a card that I had a vision in my mind. I had a friend whose birthday had passed. I knew it was her birthday, I knew it was coming up, but I forgot to make and send a card. So I wanted to make this card. I had a vision in my head, but as I went through the process, I just kept having a lot of difficulties, and I really struggled with deciding whether or not to even publish this onto YouTube or to just scrap it and start over with the video and the card. But I decided that I'm going to show you the video because not everybody's perfect, and a lot of the videos that I say I'm not Hallmark. That's one of the phrases I like to use, so I thought I would go ahead and put this video on anyways. Now I did speed this up just to make it a little bit quicker, so if it's looking like I'm going a little fast, that is because I did make the video a little bit faster so that it didn't take as long. So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking some bubblegum ink from Gina K Designs and just a regular sponge, and I am making a background for this card. And so the ink pad is pretty old, so it didn't have a whole bunch of ink in it, but I think it was enough to give the background what I wanted. I wanted like almost like a puffy cloud type of background, and I think I achieved that. So the next thing I was going to do is stamp the sentiments and the images. And so I got a piece of scrap paper and I went ahead and I used VersaFine Black Onyx ink, and I got the stamp set that I used was from Lawn Fawn. And I'll go ahead and I'll leave all the links in the description box below of all the products that I used. And so I laid out my sentiment and I laid out my stamps. And I didn't even notice here, but it's supposed to say happy belated birthday. And so this is the first mistake. And so I lined it all up. I thought it was all perfect. And then I go to stamp it and I still don't even notice it until later. So I went ahead and I stamped it. And at this point I record on my phone and I received a phone call and I had no clue that it stops the recording. So this is the first thing. But right when I was done stamping, I did put some clear embossing powder on it, and I did heat it with my heat tool just to give it a little bit of a raised and shiny look. So the next thing that I'm doing is I'm actually taking the card base itself and I am stamping the back of the card with a new stamp set that I recently purchased from Technique Tuesday, and it has a whole bunch of neat sayings that you can stamp on the back. My favorite one at the moment is, "Yep, I made this, don't throw it out." So I went ahead and stamped that on the back, cleaned off my stamp, and now I am ready to color. So basically what I'm using for markers is the Bic markers. I bought them off Amazon in a 36 pack. It really wasn't that expensive, and I think they do a really good job. I'll probably do another video that goes into depth on using these, but I have used them in the past to do shading, and they do blend very well. So they're really good if you're a beginner, for like me, and you are looking for something inexpensive to try. I think they're really a great marker. So I'm going ahead now and I'm coloring in the turtle, and I'm doing the shell part one color and then the internal part a little bit of a different shade of green. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move on to the hat, and the hat I'm going to do 2 different shades as well, and then I will move on to the present and do the same. And once I'm done with all of the coloring, I use my electronic cutting machine to cut out the images with just a slight border. And that is kind of where I realized that the happy belated birthday was not stamped correctly. So I ended up having to stamp it, or to cut it out, I'm sorry, in 3 different sections so that I could reassemble it correctly. So I ended up making an oval with my electronic cutting machine in a pink cardstock, and then I went ahead and I took the same coordinating bubblegum ink from Gina K Designs, and I just kind of sponged it on the edges of the oval just to give it a little bit of dimension and so that it ties it into the background. And then I go ahead and I use some foam tape, and then I assembled the words correctly this time onto the oval. So it's supposed to read, "Happy Belated Birthday." And now I thought that the happy on the top line wasn't quite centered, so I went ahead and I pulled that off. And with the foam tape, if you do it right away, it gives you a little bit of leeway where you can pull that off, but I do find that it does become extremely permanent if left on for just a little bit longer. So I went ahead and I took the oval with the sentiment on it, and I applied my Scotch quick dry adhesive on the back. I was gonna pop it up, but I figured I popped up the sentiment, so I didn't want too much dimension because I still wanted it to fit in the envelope. Now, as you can see at the very top, I have a sentiment that I did with my machine and a pen, and it says, "I didn't forget, I am just slow." And so this was going to be the second mistake. So I go ahead and I put the glue on the back of the sentiment, and I wasn't 100% tied to the sentiment, but again, I was late on this birthday and I was just trying to get it together. And so I put it in, and lo and behold, it is too wide for the card. And so as I am also using my finger to press it down, all of the ink starts to smear. I use just a cheapy gel pen that usually does really well for me, but for some reason it smeared. And so I turn the card over, and at this point I'm still going to move on. I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the ends to make them even. And in my mind, I'm thinking this is still going to look great. So I cut off one side, and then I go ahead and I cut off the other side. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, nope, this is not going to work. I don't think so. So what do? I'm thinking, what do I do? Well, let's rip this off. Let's just take this off. Let's start over. So the glue hadn't really set, so I go ahead and pull it off. I did mess up a little bit of the card base, but it's okay because in my mind I'm thinking I'm just going to go ahead and put another base on, which I did. So I cut out another base. I go ahead and I'm going to glue that on as well. And I get that in there. It fits nicely. I'm evening it up. Closes right. Perfect. I like it. Let's start over. Go ahead and, smooth it out. And can't really see it, but oh, there's ink on my hands. So I have green now smeared all over this card base that I just made. Okay. So now what should I do? In my mind, I'm like, well, let's rip it off again and start over. Third time's the charm, right? Alright, so I go ahead and I make another base and I go ahead and glue that on. This time I made sure that I used a different finger and I had washed my hands. Sure that I wasn't going to smear any more ink. And then I went ahead and I glued on my turtle as well as the hat and the present to the inside. And I just went ahead and used again my Scotch quick dry adhesive, which I really like, and I'll also leave a link in the description box below for that. And I put him towards the bottom because I was going to go ahead and at this point in my mind I am going to handwrite the sentiment. Not too, I really don't like my handwriting a lot, but at this point I'm not going back to my machine. I'm not printing anything out. This time I'm like, it's easier for me just to handwrite this, so I'm going to go ahead and handwrite my sentiment. My turtle is all put together, so I go ahead and I handwrite my sentiment, which is supposed to say, what? I didn't forget, I'm just late. And instead I put, I'm not late. And you can see I pause there for a really long time and think, that's not what it's supposed to say, but okay, let's just go with it. So it ended up saying, I'm not late, I'm just slow. And my friend, she knows me, and whether or not it says that or it says, I didn't forget, she's gonna love it either way. So that, my friends, is the card. You guys decide whether or not it was a card fail or a card save. Please leave your comments in the description box below, because I really like to know what you think of this video, as well as any other of my videos that you've seen or what you might like to see in the future. Again, here are some shots of the front and the inside of the card. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment, and subscribe if you have not already subscribed to my channel. And I will see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.